Let me tell you, gang, the world is made up of two kinds of people, all right? The believers and the skeptics. Tonight we give you a chance to decide which one you are as we meet some people with the most unusual theories you've ever seen presented on television. We'll hear from two men who feel they've discovered the greatest evil ever known to man, plus an inventor who has claims to building a device that will change the world forever as we know it today, and a writer who says that Michael Jackson is a threat to Western civilization and should be deported. Unusual theories, nutcases, or visionaries. Next, stay with us. Let me introduce some of the folks that we've got at home base with us tonight. Two good friends of mine, John Lofton, columnist from the Washington Times, and, of course, Dick Carter, known to most of you here and in the East as a columnist and editorial writer for the New York Daily News. Gentlemen, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Morton. At our loudmouth, the music programmer for Hot 103, all right? Tough radio here in our area. Let me introduce to you Steve Ellis. Let me start off with John. John, you have one of the most unusual theories, and it's regarding Michael Jackson, all right?
Yes.
I understand that you actually consider him a threat to our civilization. Now, as far as I can tell, he's only a threat to the Elephant Man.
First, I want to make clear, Mort, that I'm not here speaking for the Washington Times, and I appreciate your giving me this time to simultaneously apologize to Michael Jackson and call for his deportation. He should be deported for three reasons. And he has three problems, and he can't be let back in until they're solved. The first problem is the sex problem. The problem being we don't know what sex he is.
Well, is that we don't know? What difference does it make if we know as long as he knows?
Or, to put it in the words of a popular song on MTV now, the dude looks like a lady. The second problem is he should not be allowed to re-enter this country until he gets a real job. Now, the third point is arguably the most serious one, and that has to do with his third problem. I don't know exactly how to describe it even on this show other than to say he should not be allowed back in this country until we're sure that what he has, that the rest of us cannot get it. Now, I'm talking about tarantism. Yeah, what?
Tarantism?
Well, see, that's the first thing
all right,
I said.
See, we don't know what that is.
I heard about
I thought
the
that
dictionary.
was raw steak or something.
Wrong. Tarantism, the dictionary describes it as a nervous affection characterized by an uncontrollable
An affection
impulse.
or an affliction, John?
Affection.
Oh, okay.
Caused by an uncontrollable impulse to dance, especially prevalent in Italy from the 15th to the 17th century.
Now, this is important stuff,
Yeah,
folks. I mean, we might be getting a breakthrough.
By the way,
here.
you call this a... You call this a theory, Mort. This is a fact. This is not a theory.
Well, it's a fact. Uh-huh.
This dancing mania... Just let me finish the definition. This dancing mania is popularly attributed to the bite of the tarantula.
Ah.
Now, just one other quick point, and it's a factual point. I was skeptical about this, too. I laughed like you laughed. And then I ran across the October 1963 issue of the Bulletin of the History of Medicine, published by the Johns Hopkins University.
That sounds like a must-read.
It was an article titled An Historical and Socio-Psychiatric Appraisal of Tarantism and Its Importance in the Tradition of Psychotherapy of Mental Disorders. I'm just going to give you one little bit of this.
On the toilet, huh?
Some of the... You know, if Dave Clark can walk off his show, I can do it too.
But you're too much of a man.
Well, that's precisely why I won't. The symptoms of this tarantism, I read in this article, it didn't sound like Michael Jackson until I got to this part. The person who was bitten by the tarantula would sing, touch parts of his body supposedly bitten by the spider, especially his hands, feet, and genitals. Now, have you seen the video bad?
Wait a second.
Bad? Have you seen the video?
No, run the monitor out here so the folks in the audience can see it. And folks, I've seen the video bad. I just don't look for Michael Jackson to be, you know, I mean, I see the dancing. I don't, you know.
It's everywhere. He's
everywhere?
bitten all over. I think he's bitten all over.
Bitten all over. Let's see Michael Jackson dancing the bad. Let's see. Now, wait a second, John, let me understand this. I saw that. I saw him a couple times go like that. All right, wait a second. Wait a second. That means Dave Winfield was bitten by spiders? All right? That means Ken Mattingly was bitten by spiders? All right, wait a second. Wait a second. And John, that means I was bitten by spiders. All right?
You have, if you'll pardon the expression, put your finger precisely on the problem. This is something that's spreading in this country. Of course Dave Winfield may have it. You may have it. This is one reason for why he ought to be deported. Now, I want to say one other thing. This is not something that I rushed into. This is something that I've thought about. When Michael Jackson wanted to buy the elephant person's, I guess we have to say, bones, I didn't want to deport him. When he wanted to build a shrine to Elizabeth Taylor, I didn't want to deport him. When I read in the National Enquirer that he goes over to the little guy on Webster and ties towels around their necks, they fly around like Superman, I didn't want to deport him. I didn't even want to deport him when he wanted to talk to his chimpanzee, his pet.
You have a dog?
Sort of.
You ever talk to them? Huh? You ever talk to them? You know, like, here, pussy. Here, pussy.
A dog?
Huh?
A dog?
My dog's name is Pussy. I mean, Dick, hey, let me come to Dick Carter a second. Dick, now, you've listened to this bizarre theory of Mr. Lofton's. You feel you're in the high-risk category of contracting tarantism? I've noticed you've got your hands cupped just in case you get bit.
Well, Morton, I tell you, I don't really know what to think about this. It is unusual and unique, the things he says. I happen to enjoy Michael Jackson. I think he's a great artist, and I think the video bad, and all of his recordings are great. And
real art.
I think John Lofton's theory is dog.
Well, I mean, that's as straightforward as you can get. Why do you have your hands folded there? You're not going to get bit.
You know why I know it isn't that? Because
why?
If it was, you'd be for it.
Well, I think you're a little misguided there because
really?
you don't.
Have you done the research on tarantism? Have you done any reading about tarantism?
You don't know me, Jack.
No. Have you done
so
any
don't
reading
tell me
about
what
tarantism?
I'm going to do.
Have you done any reading
Can you
about
dig
tarantism?
it?
Have you done
Can
any
you
reading?
read?
Have you done any reading?
You can't read. Hey.
You read zero. You read
You know what?
about
You know what?
Nothing.
You know what?
You can just use
And
a
you
foul
know what?
mouth. That's why you like Michael
You
Jackson.
look like
You're
a
not
jerk.
bad.
You
You're
look
not
like
bad.
a jerk.
No.
If you're going to grow a beard,
Gutter
grow
mouth.
a proper beard. You know, Morton, speaking of pets and dogs and cats, you look like something the cat dragged in, Jack. That's right.
Do you have anything of substance to say, or is your whole attack to just attack me personally?
I'm not
Can
attacking.
you say anything of substance?
I'm not attacking.
Oh, really?
No, I'm reacting.
I see. Do you have anything?
Morton asked me a question.
Well, all you've done is curse. Do you have anything intelligent to say?
I haven't cursed except one time.
I see. Well, that was one too many. Why did you do that?
Let me tell you something,
You ought to have your
my friend.
mouth washed out with soap.
I'm going to wash out your mouth with this.
Shine my shoe.
Shine mine, boy. Shine mine, boy.
Punch anybody.
Oh, I'm going to punch you.
No, you're not. No,
He's not even worth punching.
Yeah, that's what
He's
I
not even
thought.
worth punching.
You're all
Get him,
mouth.
get him
You
back to
gang,
Michael
you
Jackson.
know
I'll
me.
take
I
it.
can't stand violence. I want to go to Mr. Ellis. All right, Mr. Ellis. Let me go to you now. Question, Steve.
Hands right here, John.
Steve, you're a music programmer,
Right.
all right, at one of the top rock stations in the country. Has your experience with Michael Jackson led you to believe that he's a poor example for the youth of America?
No, he's a good... John, hands right here, okay? Right up here, the whole time.
Okay, but I saw where they were before.
Yeah,
Steve.
You know, Michael Jackson has probably done more for the youth of America than anybody else in the country. Given more money, wrote USA for Africa, has donated a hospital wing at Mount Sinai, and probably done more than you'll ever think about doing for America and underprivileged people.
Is that right?
And
Well, I noticed that you're very cleverly avoiding the Tarantism issue.
the guy likes to dance, John. What do you like to do in your spare time?
Nothing.
What do you like to do?
What do I like to do?
Yeah.
Why,
Shave,
what is-
obviously, is
what
not
is
one
that?
of them.
What's that?
Shaving is not one of them,
You're
right?
probably just jealous because you can't grow a beard.
Yeah.
I mean, on his chin. But how about the Tarantism issue? How about addressing the issue? You seem to be making the point that if he builds enough hospitals and gives away enough money, he has a right to infect the country with this disease. Is that your point?
I think you have no facts that says that he has a disease of any kind like that.
Oh, you think Michael Jackson's normal, huh? What sex is he? What sex is he?
He's a little more normal than you, probably.
What is his sex? Do you know? What is Michael Jackson's
He is a
sex?
male.
How do you know that?
He is a male.
How
He's
do
a
you
male.
know that?
What are you, John?
How do you know that?
Margot.
John, what are you wearing?
he's floundering.
Margot, let me hear
He's
some
floundering.
music. Let me hear Bad. See if it infects me.
No, it's not the music.
We'll be back in a minute. I don't know how many of you at home or in our studio audience have heard the horror stories of inventions that have been created in this country. And because of bureaucracy or the large corporations or the very rich, these inventions get hidden under beds and never come out, or they get bought up by corporations. I'm familiar with one, for instance, a fellow by the name of Axel Wennergren, who invented a light bulb in 1927 that is still burning in Gothenburg, Sweden. He invented that, sold it to General Electric, and it disappeared. Isn't that interesting? A light bulb that would never burn out. We're familiar with companies like Goodyear and Firestone and other companies that allegedly have had sold to them inventions that would allow you to drive 1,000,000 miles on your tire in total comfort, never have any blowouts. They never appear. We are familiar with the stories of the guy who says, I invented something that I put on the car and it'll get you 80 miles a gallon. I'm familiar with a guy in Virginia who retired as a mechanic at a Ford dealership in 1972. Most of us remember the Fords in those years were pretty big, all right? They gave him as a going-away present a new Ford. He got home, he used the Ford for 3 or 4 months, couldn't understand it. He was getting 72 miles per gallon. So he brought it back and explained it to them. They said they had to examine it, etc. It was a couple of days later, they called him back and they said, there was a defect in the car. They were giving him a new one. In fact, an experimental car had gotten out, carburetor, all right? I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman tonight where you're going to see this same type of thing is going on. You decide whether you're skeptical or whether you're a believer. His name is Joe Newman. He is a scientist and he is an inventor. Joe, you claim that you invented a device that would drastically reduce the cost of energy, like 40-cent gasoline again, all right? How have you done this, and what impact will it have on the world today?
This is a result of 23 years of work on my part. As a young man, I simply looked at Faraday's generator. I had no biased opinion. I majored in accounting economics in college. I've been inventing for 25 years for a livelihood. And one thing you do when you invent for a living, you don't waste your time trying to deceive yourself. If you got an idea, you immediately try to disprove it as quickly as possible. I had an idea that the energy in a magnetic field was literally a river of energy looking at Faraday's generator. It took me over 14, 15 years of work. I applied for a patent, dedicated. I wrote to President Johnson in 1967. Wrote to the major universities in 1967, predicting the impact upon this on humanity. Wrote to every president who's been in office since that time.
What were the results of your writing?
Oh, they'd pass it off to one organization. They'd write me back.
Did they think you were a nutcase?
I think some of them did. Some of them...
How many patents do you hold now?
About 9 patents, not counting overseas patents. The thing that became obvious to me was that the injustice I was incurring very much matches what you just described. Throughout history, the people who made the greatest contributions to humanity have been persecuted, prosecuted by the colleagues of their time. And the culprit is...
But I understand the colleagues of your time, the scientists, have not disproven this and think, in fact, you may have something worthwhile here.
Yeah, and one of the points is I published this book, The Energy Machine of Joseph Newman. I published this in 1984. Everybody around me said, Joe, don't publish this book. People are going to try to steal from you. And I said, it's too important to be in the mind of one human being. Now, what's interesting, since I published this book, major universities, corporations around the world have bought this. I had a red press release I put out in September. Over 200 major corporations have bought this book from the word of mouth, by word of mouth. And what this describes is how you convert mass into energy on a 100% conversion process without any pollution to the environment of the human race. I have consistently had an open challenge to the scientific community.
Seems to me that this would upset the oil manufacturers, the drillers, and maybe our OPEC nations in that.
Yeah, and
what will this invention do for mankind?
Okay, what it will do, it'll completely alleviate the dangers we have now because of energy, our dependence upon energy. It'll make energy basically cost-free almost at that point. You're talking about where you spend dollars a day. It'll be pennies per day.
No one's going to make money on that, Joe.
No, but the human race the dignity and the quality of life will go up drastically. And the way you can know this is a fact. Now, I've had, there's been negative comments. Well, Joe, if you're right and you put this out, it's going to put people out of jobs. And that's such a deliberate lie. Every time new technology comes forward, it creates more jobs. It takes the dignity of life goes up and the misery of humanity goes down. This invention will do that to the nth degree. And
by doing what? By doing what?
Okay, you can take this.
Will this run a car?
It'll run a car. I've already
Will this
ran a car.
take care of air conditioning in my house?
Everything,
Will
anything.
this take care of the furnace?
Anything,
Will
and
this
everything.
take care of the machinery in factories?
Anything and everything. Let me just run this device right here. Now, this little motor right here that I built.
Get your camera on top of this VU meter, will you please? I'd like to see what this does.
This is a 100 milliamp meter. Now, this is a little old toy motor made by the people who claim to be the best in the world. A lot of you people have got brothers and sisters. When you're kids, you bought a remote control vehicle, got these kind of motors in it. The thing will die down, and within 30 minutes, the batteries will be dead. Now, I run this motor based on my design. Now, they teach you that a coil of wire has nothing to do with what goes on within a motor. And I'm saying the energy comes from the atoms of that system and comes from the permanent magnet. This energy is equals MC squared. Now, this little motor right here would peg this meter out. It'll draw 130 milliamps. When it runs, you put torque on it, it'll draw 300 milliamps. I'll run this motor. It'll call these little men to vibrate, and imagine this placed in a remote control vehicle. It'd run for at least 80 hours. Now, that's by conventional teachings. By what happens, it'll run 160 hours. Now, imagine this place, the same thing will place in an automobile. I ran an 1,800-pound automobile off of 18 milliamps. Now, an old saying in the South, the proof of pudding's in the eating. Now, that's at a low speed. You can see these little men moving relative to this magnetic field because it's a real entity. And as you go on up in the speed, this meter just doesn't get off of zero. Now, this little motor right here would peg this unit slap out. Now, they teach you that the magnetic field comes from the current, that the coil has nothing to do with this. It's dormant. Now, I built a unit weighing 9,000 pounds and carried it up to the U.S. Patent Office. I've been at the Superdome and challenged anybody to come and debate with me, get up and discuss the basic electromagnetic engineering. Nobody, not one, not from any major university, not from any corporation, will get up and do it. The reason is simple, that I teach a truth that's beneficial to all humanity and all you young people out here. I busted my ass for y'all, for all humanity. Now, if y'all care about this, y'all ought to get mad as I get mad, because I'm a fighter, and I've been fighting the U.S. government from Ronald Reagan. Administration has been fighting this vigorously from 1984. That's why I published this book. It's too important to be in the mind of one human being. And I'm up here to get y'all to see it. If you care about this information, you're talking about your children. Right now, we stand on the threshold of total destruction upon all life on this earth. This invention will totally do away with that. We could have a world war tonight as a result of trying to protect oil in the Far East. Now, this doesn't have to be. If this technology came forward, it would come out right now. I could put this on any device. This is an 1,800-pound car that I've already ran in Coliseums, challenging anybody. And it ran off an 18 milliamps, an 1,800-pound automobile. Rayovac battery company came down and built the batteries for me. These are batteries designed for me by Rayovac. After they saw this car run, they signed a contract with me, giving me 50% interest in a battery to be developed to uphold the back charging effect of the system.
What's happened with it? What's happened?
What's happened with him?
Rayovac.
It's interesting. One of the questions I asked Rayovac before that I signed the contract, do y'all have a big contract with the government? No, we don't. I found it interesting. They had I gave them a prototype of my motor to test.
Quickly now.
Just before the contract was over, they called me and said, Joe, something very unusual happened. As soon as we signed the contract with you, we got the biggest order from the government we'd ever gotten. We hadn't been able to do the development we'd like to, so we'd like to keep the motor longer. Now, I have done that. Now, I'm not blaming Rayovac, but I find it very curious that the government consistently reacts in a way to cause this technology to slow down and
Loudmouth
stop.
number one. We've got Jim and Trotter, Vice President of Research and Development, Advanced Technology Corporation. Jim, tell me something now. You've become aware of Joe's work. Do you think that this invention has merit? And if it does, why is Mr. Newman having such a hard time getting it to the marketplace?
Well, I think that, first of all, I've never seen a demonstration of the large device that he has down in Lucedale, Mississippi. But I think that I can say that talking with many professors at major universities and people in industry, there's nobody who can categorically refute this. That at bare minimum, his theory is so logical that it merits a lot more consideration than it's gotten.
You know, what's very interesting is years ago when we were kids, Dick Carter, when you and I were kids, we read Flash Gordon, and they had the magnetic motors then. They were thinking about them then. Why the hell, you know, it's said that anything the human race can conceive, it can eventually invent and build. And here it is again, gang, all right? The old government, the old bureaucracy getting in there. We think we're being helped. We think they're doing the job for us, and they ain't, because they don't recognize us as their leaders. They're not ours. Next, we're going to hear perhaps the most unusual theories of all, that the Antichrist has come and that the end of the world is near. Stand by.
Transportation for the Morton Downey Jr. Show, furnished by Redwood Limousine. When in New York, call 212-226-7665.
For those of you who have just joined us, tonight's show is on unusual theories and weird happenings. Now, I'm going to introduce you at home base to Daria Marmaluk. Is that proper pronunciation?
That's great.
Marmaluk. What kind of a name is that?
Russian.
A Russian name?
Yeah.
All right, darling. All right, now let me ask you. I understand you were abducted some 20 times by alien beings over 20 years. Now, when did you first sign up for this frequent flyer plan? Uh-huh.
You've got the greatest title. Of all the shows I've been on, that's the cutest one I've heard. You don't really sign up for it. I think, you know, I've heard that you've also had experience.
Well, let me hear yours. I want to hear yours. I mean, all of us have had
Okay.
interesting experiences, my dear.
Mine started at age 7, and apparently went on till age 26.
You started flying at age 7?
I was precocious youth.
And went on until you were 26?
There were, incidences from 7 to 8, 11 to 13, 17 to 19, and 25 to 26.
Okay, I understand now that you were subjected to intensive medical examination and experimentation on these spaceships. What were these guys trying to find out, or these ladies, or these beings, or whatever the hell they were?
Well, it's interesting because they seem to be doing a mass genetic experiment.
Genetic?
They follow you through your growth. They follow you through your growth, and they study the body, and they study its changes. They take skin grafts.
From the age of 7 to 26, they take you in, strip you down naked, and lie you on a table and examine you?
They seem to be, from what they say, they seem to be very interested in what they say is reproducing life, and they need skin grafts, pieces of hair, pieces of the brain to do an experiment.
So do they take a piece of your brain? It appears that way. No, really, I don't mean to be rude. Well, yes, I do mean to be rude.
Go ahead. Be yourself.
Did they take a piece of your skin?
Yeah, I have the typical scars that most abductees have.
You have?
Yeah.
Scars? Where are they?
On my left knee and right hand.
Could I
on
see
my
your
back.
left knee, please?
They didn't prep me for this one. I don't know if you can see this. You can't. That.
You don't shave that part of your knee. Why is that? Is that because of the scar?
There's 3 scars on my knee and there's 1 scar on my arm.
Now, what portion of your brain did they take?
I've never had that experience, but other abductees have had that
I've had the experience where they take a piece of the brain. All right, now, how do you respond to people who think that you're making all this up and you're just, you know, a spaced out nut?
I can understand how it's hard to believe. There seem to be a lot of people with having the same experiences, the same memories, the same recollections, recounting the same conversations. The girl in Oregon recounted verbatim the same 4-line conversation that comes out in my regressions. The scars are in the same places. I mean, when you build
Most people are told they won't remember any of this stuff, all right, when they're abducted. How do you remember it, and why do you tell the story?
Most people, you're correct. Most people have kind of gaps in time. You know, one moment you're on the road going this way, the next moment, all of a sudden 10 miles have gone, and you go, where was I, or how did that happen? There are little gaps in time. There are strange fears, a fear of your closet or fear of this. And then you go back searching, finding what happened to me. You know, why am I afraid of that? Why did I wake up with a mark on my arm? Why did I wake up with this feeling?
Well, let me tell you something, all right?
for it.
I don't want you to think I'm weird. No one does. When I was 20 years old, was driving along the Boston Post Road, all right? Came to what I thought was a cloud bank. I was in a little Henry J. Kaiser. And I thought I saw a cloud bank and a fog bank on the road. And so I took my foot off the gas as I approached the fog bank. You know how you see fog along the road in the summertime. And as I hit the fog, the car decelerated by itself. The lights went down and out, all right? Now, there were no electric door locks or any of that stuff in those days. And I remembered I had passed one of those power stations along the road about 5 miles back, and I had seen a light in the sky, you know, the usual baloney, but I paid no attention to it. I hit the fog bank, the car stopped. I said, oh boy, you know, something's happened to the generator or something. I'll get out of the car. I grabbed the handle, all right? The handle was like it was stripped. It turned all the way around. It did not open, did not catch. So I thought, well, okay, no problem. I'll go to the other side. Same thing happens on the other side. I go to roll down the window. All right, the window won't roll down. I have little flaps with little things on them. I try to open them. They won't open. I said, okay, wait a second now. What the hell could have possibly gone on? And then I noticed that all my hair is sticking up straight and on my arms, like you've been using one of those combs on a dry day and your hair gets all electricity in it. And I thought about this and thought about it, and all that kept going through my mind was, you have nothing to fear. You have nothing to fear. And I kept saying, you know, something's wrong here. I wanted to get out of the car and off the road because I didn't know where the car was in the road. It was a 2-lane road, and I wasn't sure there wouldn't be a truck or something coming. I don't know how long this lasted, but I do know I kept hearing, you have nothing to fear. And I started daydreaming. I dreamt I was on a silver table, that 2 electrodes were put on my chest, were bounced. I thought, this is crap, right? I get out of the daydream and I think, what in the world is going on? And I see this fog bank starting to lift. And as it lifts, the lights slowly come on to the car, all right? Make a long story short, lights come on, I drive up, I hit a cabin, some cabins up the road a little ways. I go in, I look at my watch says 10 after 2 in the morning, whatever the hell time it was. Get in there, and it says 2:53. It's 43 minutes. My watch has stopped. It's running again. 43 minutes missing out of my life. Was I on a flying saucer, or was I just flying? Let me show you a polygraph that I took for that. Turn that around so the audience can see it, please. It's a polygraph I took on that. Let's run the
I
UFO
was
poly.
contacted by your producers this morning to conduct a test on you regarding your alleged sightings of a UFO flying saucer when you were approximately 20 years old.
All right.
Okay.
What did you find out? You've got the test right there.
I have the charts right here in front of me.
Okay.
The results do indicate that you were not attempting deception when I examined you on the polygraph.
All right, sir.
To the best of your belief, you were telling me the truth.
A little bit scary, huh? We'll be right back. You know, all of us who have done any or had any type of religion in our lifetime have heard that the Antichrist is coming and that thereafter Christ will return to earth and Russia will be converted, however it goes. We've got some guests with us tonight I'd like you to meet. Greg Gordon, who is the author of Impeach the Antichrist. How are you tonight? And with us, Mr. Robert Fade, author of Has the Real Antichrist Come? And loudmouth number one, we have with us Michael McManus, who is a syndicated columnist on ethics and religion and syndicated in over 130 newspapers nationwide. Let me start off with Robert. I understand you have an unusual theory now that came to you in the middle of the night on March 8th, 1985. Would you tell us what that revelation was?
Yes, about 1 o'clock in the morning, I woke up with a feeling that something of tremendous importance was going to happen. And the Lord took me across the hall from my bedroom where I do my research and writing and into the book of Revelation. And I could see where some of the Revelation prophecy definitely pointed to the Soviet Union as the seat of power for the Antichrist. Now, 3 days later, Konstantin Chernenko suddenly died. And a man the Western world had never heard of suddenly vaulted into power in the Soviet Union as General Secretary of the Communist Party and leader of the most powerful military machine ever assembled in history.
All right. Now, I've never been a big fan of the Ruskies, and certainly not of Mikhail Gorbachev, but I'm having a hell of a time now swallowing the fact that there was a set of horns underneath his babushka.
No horns under him. This is all figurative language. John saw these visions that the Lord showed him and wrote the book of Revelation.
Yeah, okay, but you now think Gorbachev is the guy?
Yes, I do. There are six...
Is there anything that shows you that the guy is the guy?
Yes, there are 16 major biblical prophecies concerning the identity of the Antichrist.
Give me two.
His name will be associated with 666.
How is his name associated?
Okay. Greek and Hebrew are both numerical languages. In other words, they were used before there were Arabic numerals. The Cyrillic alphabet is also a numerical language, and there are definite numerical values to
I'm having a difficult time understanding your English language.
Well, each letter in the Cyrillic alphabet in which Russian is written has a definite...
So tell me how there's 3 sixes in his name.
Mikhail S. Gorbachev is 666 times 2 in the Cyrillic alphabet. When it's transliterated into Hebrew, and the Hebrew is totaled up, it's 666 times 2. Now, in the Greek, something extremely important happens.
Now, let me go to, this is, frankly, that's boring. Michael, your column is syndicated in over 130 newspapers across the country. Does Mr. Fade's theory on Gorbachev make you want to rush back to your typewriter and warn your readers about impending doom?
I wouldn't recommend his book or this other gentleman's book at all either. I would recommend that people look at the scriptures themselves. Now, if you read 2 Thessalonians, it describes the character of the Antichrist. And I would argue that the character as described here has nothing to do with Gorbachev or Reagan.
Probably have a lot more to do with Jimmy Swaggart.
Concerning the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ and our being gathered to him, we ask you, brethren, not to become easily unsettled or alarmed by some prophecy, such as we are hearing here, I would say. Don't let anyone deceive you in any way that the day will not come until the rebellion occurs. Does anyone know of a rebellion that we have underway?
Yes, indeed. The Christian
and the man
world
of
has fallen
lawlessness
apart.
is revealed, Who is the man of lawlessness?
What's the rebellion?
The rebellion are people revolting against organized religion today. The churches are empty. The Christian church is losing the
Churches in
battle.
this country
Mr.
are empty.
Gorbachev
You go to Africa, they're filled.
Yes, but their religion is different. It's faith there, not rote.
In the Soviet Union, Mr. Gorbachev, remarkable of all things, has said he believes that it's time to recognize that people have a right to religion. Haven't you read that?
You talked to Brother Andrew about that, sir.
I have talked to Brother Andrew. I met with him 2 weeks ago.
The repression in Russia today is every bit as much as it always has been.
There's no
This is
question that it's-
Wait a
cosmetic.
second. Let me jump in here. Let me
cosmetic.
jump in here a minute. If you folks are having a tough time now thinking that the devil is, alive and well in the Soviet Union, meet Greg. Greg, I understand that you think the devil is much closer to home. Where do you think he's residing?
I believe that the President Ronald Wilson Reagan is the Antichrist. For many of you, this is the first time you've heard that his middle name is Wilson. But Ronald contains 6 letters, Wilson contains 6 letters, Reagan contains 6 letters, giving the president...
You almost look like you had that Michael Jackson disease there.
Tell them who you are.
My name's Greg Gordon.
No, who you claim to be.
Oh, I claim to be the second coming of Christ.
Well, wait a second. Now, let's not laugh now. You claim to be the second coming of Christ. When did you find that out?
In 1979.
1979. How did you find it out, Greg?
I took an acid hit and...
Go, baby. I'm sure you saw some wonderful things.
Yeah, I did, as a matter of fact, but the thing about Reagan happens to be true.
How did you find out you were the second coming of Christ?
Well,
took an acid
I'll
hit.
give you some information. My name translated, as it would be written in a telephone book, is Gordon Gregory Stewart. The initials derived from that are GGS, 2 G's and an S, G's S. And that's spoken about in Revelation. Revelation speaks about the man who overcomes, and to him will I give a new name. And that new name, I believe, is my new name, Gregory Stewart Gordon. If you look at it also, if you kick out R-O-N from Gordon, which stands for Ronald Wilson Reagan, you get God, which means that there's a Trinity to be found within me.
Well, don't you think there's a Trinity to be found within all of us?
Yes, I believe that too.
So as the second coming of Christ, what do you predict is going to happen?
I'm not predicting that anything is going to happen.
Well, as the second coming of Christ, you indeed can tell us what's going to happen.
I'm going to try and make things happen, but I need cooperation and help from everyone out there.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do it alone. See you after the show. No, what I'm saying is that, for one thing, we can introduce the Dvorak typewriter keyboard system. Maybe this man who just went on before me has a great idea that we should look into more fully.
But you can do all these things. You're Jesus Christ, man.
It says in Revelations that the kings of the earth, the princes, the generals, the rich, the mighty, and every slave and every free man in caves will kneel down to bow before you. They haven't done so. You've made this claim for some time. What's the matter with all those kings?
Now, believe me, I'm not going to play Mary Magdalene, all right? But indeed, Gordon, if you are second coming of Christ, would you stand on that water? Huh? Let me see. Give it a try. Give it a try. Didn't make it. Didn't make it. We'll be back in just a minute. Come on. All right. Leah, usually our audience has some great questions and has some good theories of their own. So we always go to our audience in one of our segments. We might as well go right now. And go ahead, sir. We'll start with you. With the Lakers.
I just drove 5 hours from the great Green Mountain state of Vermont to listen to a quack like this with a headband around his hair. You should have used that bowl of water to wash his head. Where did you come up with a theory like that?
It's strictly out of the Bible. It's from what Revelation says. I encourage everyone to read Revelations. It promises a blessing if you read Revelations. So if you read Revelations, you'll see it for yourself.
I want Mr. McManus up here.
I want everyone else to just read it, look at it. Remember that it's Ronald Wilson Reagan, not Ronald Reagan. You can read from the Bible. I can read from the Bible, too.
I just want to ask, it says here that the Antichrist will oppose and will exalt himself over everything that is called God. So he sets himself up in God's temple, proclaiming himself to be God. Now, I ask anyone here, have you ever heard Ronald Reagan? He said some dumb things before, but has he ever claimed to be God? Has Mr. Gorbachev ever claimed to be God?
No! I have. Mr. McManus. I'd like Mr. McManus. Mr. McManus.
Get a load of this little theory. Camera, move in on Wacko Face here.
Wacko Face.
Good. And pardon me, I don't mean to insult you.
That's okay.
Jesus.
It's all right. The book is Impeach the Antichrist. If you cover up peach and anti, you get I'm the Christ.
Oh! That does it! That does it! That does it!
I got my own theory. If we believe that, we're all sinking faster in this three-caucus swamp than we know what to do.
Come on up, pal. Come on up. Come on, Red. Come on. What do you got on your mind?
Oh, I'd just like to know, with all the problems that go on in the world, why worry about Michael Jackson if he's been bitten by a spider or if he grabs himself in the crotch?
Well, I think there were probably people that said that when Paul Revere rode on his horse. But if Ronald Reagan is the Antichrist, it's only because Nancy told him to be. Okay? So let's get that straight. And Mort, I was wondering if Mr. Newman's energy machine could get Michael Jackson out of this country and whether or not Gorbachev might take him. Yeah, well, okay, just thought I'd
If you
try
get him
that
out of the country, what would happen?
What's that?
If you get him out of the country, what would happen? Like, what great thing would happen if Michael Jackson
look, my point is, we don't know, but when you're dealing with the safety of the public, pal, you don't take chances, okay?
Dick, you are one of the more learned men I've known in my life, and I'm sorry that you've had to listen to these theories tonight. I mean, first, we've got, the Martina Navratilova here, what's that mean? Does that mean you want me to crucify you? Huh? Happened once. What are you asking for it again? Hey. Well, let me speak to this young man behind you, sir, one of your disciples.
John, you want to deport Michael Jackson and never let him back. To where?
No, excuse me, I did not say that. I said if he met 3 conditions, he could come back. So don't misquote me, okay?
Come back from where?
Well, wherever would take him.
Well, where's he going?
Hey, that's not my business. I just want to get him out of our country.
Where are you going to send them?
That's not my problem.
Jesus.
Listen, we'll work this out while you watch these wonderful commercials. They got to be better than this. Stand by.
Some of the guests of the Morton Downey Jr. show stay at the Meadowlands Hilton Hotel.
Let me start with the Johnson Space Center here. Go ahead, sir.
I have a question for you. If you're supposed to be
the... a question for the new Christ.
The new Christ. If you're the new Christ, why don't you do something with the problems we're having with AIDS, people dying, and you're supposed to help us.
I'm trying my best. But
if you're Christ, what do you mean trying? You're supposed to have the power inside of you.
That's the thing. What do you think that Christ did? He was trying to tell you that he has to work at these things. He said he couldn't heal everyone in the temple. He said you have to heal yourselves. You got to do these things.
But if you're there, you should be out there. You should know.
I'm trying my best.
Everyone knew what Christ was. He crucified himself and he rose.
He didn't crucify himself. He got crucified.
The Romans did.
Right. Well, I hope I don't get crucified. But what I'm trying to do, is to save the world.
Dying.
If we introduce the Dvorak keyboard system, we can save enough money to pay for any social program that you want, you name it, we can pay for.
Yeah, but you're there.
When the California earthquake comes in a few years and wipes out 1/3 of our economy, your Dvorak system isn't going to be worth much.
Listen, we all know there's a fine line between being a creative thinker and a nutcake, right? But before we strap a straitjacket on those with a different approach to life, remember this. Some people have gone so far as to accuse me of being a little off. And you know I'm okay. Good night, all!